Hello, everybody, and welcome, welcome, welcome to MangaPod. This is a weekly podcast in which we get together after we have read all or part of a manga, and then we discuss it with friendship, love, and lots of spoilers. Unfortunately, our lovely, lovely, fearless leader, Erin, got her gallbladder removed, so she's not here to discuss this with us, so I am running it in her stead, but please go find her at Happily Erin on everything and tell her that she's lovely and that we miss her. But I am Dodger, and we have another one of our pillar hosts, as well as a lovely guest host. So, Lou, if you would like to introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Lou, and I'm from Lou Talks Anime, and I'm excited to talk about this manga. Did not expect much excitement, lots of things to say. I'm excited to be here tonight. Like, I was pumped for the to talk about this manga. I've been tweeting about it for the past few days, and like the fact that I finally get to talk about it with people that have read it, because I don't know many people have read this manga.
Right? Me neither.
I'm excited. So yeah, happy to be here.
And Moeka.
Hello. Hi again for any that remember, but I'm MegaMoeka. I'm a voice actor that does streaming on the side. I'm really excited about this manga because I didn't know what I was going into, and again, I'm happily surprised.
Yeah. Cool. Basically, what we like to do is, I need to bring that up, unless you already have it up, Lou. Normally, what we like to do is give you guys a short, spoiler-free description of the manga. So right now, we are in the spoiler-free section of MangaPod. Basically, it's a summary of the manga. Moeka, if you're down to read that would be amazeballs.
Yeah, I'm down.
And
it's in the chat section of our Skype call. Like we didn't do show prep, but it's okay.
lose the best. Thank you, Lou.
We were talking about like oats and
we were talking about oats. Overnight oats, they're a thing. So yeah, Moeka will read you a lovely spoiler-free description of this manga, and then we're going to go one at a time and tell you basically whether or not we liked it, if we think that you should take the time to go and read the manga or not. And if it sounds like something you would be interested in, you can go read the manga, and then you can always come back and watch the second half of MangaPod, which is always super, super spoiler heavy. So if it sounds like it's interesting to you, please don't spoil yourself. Please fly off into the night, read this manga, and then you can always come back. So yeah, Moeka, do you want to hit it?
Yeah, all right. In a world populated by anthropomorphic, I can't read, anthropomorphic animals, herbivores and carnivores coexist with each other. For the adolescents of Cherryton Academy, school life is filled with hope, romance, distrust, and uneasiness. The main character is also, it's Legoshi, but it says Regoshi, but
Interesting.
Legoshi. Yeah. Legoshi, the wolf, a member of the drama club. Despite his menacing appearance, he has a very gentle heart. Throughout most of his life, he has always been an object of fear and hatred by other animals. He's been quite accustomed to that lifestyle, but soon he finds himself becoming more involved with his fellow classmates who have their own share of insecurities and finds his life in school changing slowly.
Yeah. Basically, it's Zootopia for adults. So
yeah, too long didn't read. Zootopia.
So yeah, now we're gonna tell you whether or not we liked it. I am down to go first and say I thought that this was going to be kind of just like a weird manga about animals in high school, and that there wasn't going to be a whole lot to it, but man, it got really deep. It got dark at a lot of points. I actually really loved this manga. I would definitely recommend it. It threw me for a loop. I was like, dang, this is not what I expected, but I am enjoying the heck out of this. So yeah, I would definitely recommend it.
I'm gonna echo that recommendation. I feel like I got a lot more out of this manga than I expected, and I think it's more than it's more than just that. I think it, apart from exceeding expectations, I just think it was a fun experience and very different from any other manga I've ever read.
Mm.
You drew the comparison to Zootopia. I haven't seen Zootopia, so I don't know. I think I'm gonna just stick with this version. This was fun. There's violence and sex everywhere, and it's a good time. I love this manga.
Yeah.
I want to read more of it.
Mm.
It's great. Everyone should read this manga. If you're, I guess, like a TV 14-ish rating. There's some questionable
Yeah.
content there.
Yeah, at least what we read, I would
Yeah.
agree. Is like, yeah. What about
I'm
you,
gonna
Moeka?
echo everything else Dodger and Lou have said, and add that I went in blind. So when I saw Legoshi on the cover, I was just like, oh, interesting. Maybe this is how he views himself. And there's like, I know it talked about like herbivores and carnivores, but I expected there to be like actual humans.
Yeah.
So I was like really surprised when it was like, oh no, it's just animals.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was interesting. But if you're one of the if you're a person who really enjoys like characters and like what they're going through, like the personalities in these characters are just, I love them. There's a few that I was just like, oh, I feel you. I get where you're coming from, but no, don't do that.
Yeah, they definitely made all of the characters very relatable.
Yeah.
And considering that they're all animals, like, good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we all recommend it. We all thought that it was great. It took us all by surprise in a very good way. So definitely go and read it. And this, sweet viewers, is the time for you to take your leave. If you don't want to be spoiled on what happened in the first 42 chapters of this manga, please don't spoil anything after chapter 42. We don't know what's going to be a real spoiler or not, so don't even joke. Don't even joke that you know it's going to happen later on in this manga, because we'll probably time you out, because we don't want to know. We enjoyed this so much. We don't want to know what's going to happen in the future. We want to experience it for ourselves, and we don't want people in chat to be spoiled either. So, yeah. Now's the time to take your leave. You can always come back to youtube.com/happilyerin and watch this VOD later. But in the meantime, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Lewis is God.
Lewis is God.
Yeah.
I agree.
So you guys read it as Lewis?
I read it as Louis in my head, but that's
I
Yeah,
mean,
that's-
see, the thing is, that's how I spell my name, and I go by Lewis.
yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, that's why. Yeah, I was like, because I think she was like talking, or the author was talking about how they were like thinking of King Louis, and that's why I read it as Louis.
That makes sense.
So
So-
I
my Louis
think that's
talk anime now?
interesting.
Louis talk anime.
I'll be Louis talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in a manga like this, especially one where I think all of us were a bit taken by surprise, typically we would start with what did you think this manga was going to be like? We touched on it a little bit, but what were you guys expecting from this manga, and how did it betray your expectations or not?
Okay, I have a lot to say about this.
Go for it. Do it.
Go for
All right,
it.
all right. So the only thing that really registered with me the last time I read the description for this manga was anthropomorphic animals. That's it. That's the only part that really connected with me. And based on the art style, I thought it would be something a little bit more lighthearted. It wasn't. Like just I expected kind of like anime version of Tiny Toons. Basically, like Tiny Toon Adventures. It's not Tiny Toon Adventures. I can't speak about Zootopia, but this is a very intense experience because it asks different moral questions than you would experience in other manga. And like, the first couple chapters, it kind of lulls you. Like very early on, you're introduced to the idea of, well, someone dies on campus at the school. So I guess that's to like set the tone for what's to come later. Like they didn't do a bait and switch where, everything's nice all the time. No, very early in the manga, someone dies. But after that, it goes very slice of lifey. And I was of this mindset as I was reading it of, okay, maybe that was a one-off thing. You know, the vibe I got from Legoshi was he reminded me of the main character from Genkin Shoujo Nozaki-kun for some reason,
Okay.
where he's
Yeah.
very like tall, brooding, aloof, kind of a dork kind of character. And like there's just something about this experience in the very early stages where like I felt kind of my expectations were being met, but then once we got to the scene in the shed where
yeah, when she was like, all right, let's get to it.
that's when everything was turned on its head, and I just said, what the fuck? And the thing is, I was reading it in the first couple chapters, I think up to like chapter 3 or 4, and my daughter came up to me and she's like, Dad, what are you reading? I'm like, oh, this cute manga about animals. It's great. So she's like, oh, I want to read it too. So she picked up and she read 2 chapters. And at that point, I got to the questionable chapter. I'm like, child, put your tablet down. No, like straight up vetoed it. And then,
I love
like,
you, but
yeah, no. See, she told me that she will promise me that she won't read it as long as I tell her who kills Tem. As long as she knows who kills Tem.
I love your daughter. She's the best.
Yeah. She's a little anime girl.
That's cool. I just gotta know. I just gotta know what the fuck's going on at the beginning, Dad.
Yeah. Basically.
Man. Yeah, this I vouched really hard for this manga, not knowing anything about it, but when we were putting together the list, somebody had recommended this manga in our thread, and I was looking through random shit in that list, and one of them was Beastars, and I brought it up and I was like, this looks like a trip. This looks like a big old trip. So I was like, oh my god, guys, we gotta read this one. We gotta read this one. And they went with it. And I'm really, really glad because, yeah, I had the same feeling. I was like, oh, this is going to be like a nice story where everybody's an animal. And it's going to be about this big brooding wolf guy who's a sweetheart. And he's going to, he's going to go on adventures with all of his animal friends. And no, it was like a big, it was very slice of lifey in that in their day-to-day life, there's all of this really intense political stuff going on between carnivores and herbivores, and like the way that they maintain their friendships, or if they have those friendships at all, and the sort of tension that has. It was really fascinating the way it was all set up. And at first the art style seemed so sketchy to me, and then I realized it went from, it was always kind of sketchy, but the really clean, like, precise moments were so precise. It was very different from what I thought it would be, but again, I loved it. So
yeah, I basically the same thing as you guys, but I touched on it earlier, but yeah, I thought it was like, oh, Legoshi's gonna be like an animal. There's gonna be like other people who are just human, so maybe this is how he views himself. But no, it was like, whoa. But yeah, the part in the shed with Legoshi, I was just like, whoa, girl, what are you doing? No, leave him alone. He's a baby. I love how innocent Legoshi is. Like, I don't know, it just adds to his character so much more.
Yeah. I really liked that we got lots of side stories. Like, I even loved the sort of weird, silly ones, like the side story with the chicken who's like really proud of her eggs.
I was gonna say I love that. I fell in love with that part. I was just like, oh, that's so sweet. And the part where she's like always looking at Legoshi to see what like his thoughts are on the egg sandwich that he's eating or whatever, because it's her eggs. And like that one day when he's like, this, maybe I was wrong. This doesn't taste like usual. This tastes kind of weird. I don't like it. Maybe I was wrong about it. But then when she goes and finds out that the cook lady is like, "Oh, your eggs are like the best, so that's why we moved it to Friday, which is like our best-selling day or whatever." I was
Yeah.
just like, "Oh!"
I liked that chapter ended with because I thought maybe she was going to be like, you should check out the egg salad sandwich on Friday, which would have been super weird for a chicken to say, right? But I liked that she was just like, one day you'll grab a sandwich on Friday and then you'll know. And then you'll realize those my eggs. I loved that we got little snapshots about what life is like for other animals. And also that the more important characters like Louis and like Haru, we got even just a short backstory for them. I appreciated that too.
And like, not only were those backstories short, but they were really powerful backstories.
Yeah.
Like Louis' backstory is really, really fucked up, and they kind of like built to it early in earlier chapters. And once we finally see what he had experienced as a child and where he comes from and why, it adds so much depth to his character and explains his motivations of why he wants to be a Beastar, and the fact that all the other characters are starting to acknowledge, yes, he has what it takes. He needs to be the one that steps up to that position of power.
Yeah, you're totally right, because we had that chapter so early on where they talked about how everyone in the drama club has something kind of off or interesting about them. And they made a point of being like, so I wonder what's weird about Louis. And then they like dropped it for a really long time, right? But you saw so many really good moments of him being sort of like insecure and aggressive and being very self-aware of it. And I was like, man, what is your deal? And I thought his story wound up being a really good payoff to me.
No, yeah. Yeah, I was thinking, oh, he's like, I was thinking, oh, we're gonna find out like, oh, his thing is just that, like, oh, he's just adopted or whatever. But then it's like, oh no, it's like even more. It's like a layer of more fucked up than just that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I thought it was gonna be something like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, whatever, move on. But no, I'm so glad they went in the direction.
Like the backstory I expected from him was more along the lines of, oh well, because of who I am, I have these crushing expectations of me, and that's how I'm damaged as a person. Like that's normally how that character type is
kind
handled.
Of archetype.
And then maybe they'll go with what Moeka said of, oh well, I'm adopted, so I have to be this good. But yeah, I totally agree with the fact that they just took it up another notch by incorporating his issue with carnivores and how he was almost food, and how his number has cultural relevance in Japan, being the death number. There's just so much there. The one thing I don't like about his backstory, and it's a minor complaint that's kind of art related, is when he turned the knife on himself. If it wasn't for that line of dialogue in the elevator, I wouldn't have known that's what he did.
Oh, it was pretty clear to me.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think
I could see it that way. But yeah, for me it was like, I don't know. For me it was just like I kind of put myself in his like spot, and I was just like, I would not want to get eaten by these carnivores because they're like probably really like sadistic, and they would probably take their time. So I like, as
the sort of people that are going to like a back alley area to buy like
illegal good
child versions of animals to eat them. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't know. That's where my mind went, and as dark as it sounds, like, I would probably have been like, I'm just gonna kill myself, because at least then I know, like, I'm dead. Like,
right.
Oh, this isn't gonna be, like, spanned out till hours or whatever. Ugh.
Dude, yeah, I think for me, when it really took a turn where I was like, wow, I think this manga is gonna delve into some really intense shit, was when they accidentally wound up in the black market area. Like the whole situation with fucking Bill the tiger being like, guys,
Bill's a piece of shit.
He is. He's such a piece of shit. Oh my God. Him being like, guys, if we just pool all of our money together, we can eat all of his fingers. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you, Bill? Oh my God. And then, right? But it was awesome. I don't know. Like, it was really cool after that. The next time that we really saw Bill was when he was alone with Louis, and Louis, like, dominated him, right? Like, there was just something so satisfying about having a split second with Bill being like, man, ever since I ate that finger, like, you know, like, oh, he's bleeding right now. Like, I'm just thinking about it. And he just got completely fucked up. Louis was like, I got a gun, bitch. Now what? I was like,
now what?
Shit.
No, I literally like stopped reading and I was just like, oh.
Right?
Everybody like around me was like, what the fuck? What happened? Are you okay? I was like, yeah, this fucking deer just became a fucking bam. Pulled a gun out of nowhere. They were really confused by that, by the way. They were like, what? But
don't worry about it. It was awesome.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh yeah, but before we move, like, if we move on, the part where they like for Louis' backstory, I loved that the author went through the time of like, instead of being like, oh yeah, you can talk as a kid, like I loved how they like added more to the scene where he was just kind of like making random noises because he like didn't know how to speak. They didn't teach him how to read or like words or essentially nothing like that. So I thought that was like a small subtle thing that was just
especially since he's so well spoken as like an adult. Yeah I agree. What did you guys think of Legoshi just in general, like as a character, aside from the fact that he's a sweet baby boy?
I won't lie, I loved him. Mom, I'm sorry. I guess I'm a furry now, but I just, oh my God, I love his character. I knew look-wise, I was like, if this was a human character, I'm in.
Right.
But
the kind of shy lumbering character.
I loved him. I just, sweet baby boy, please protect him.
I enjoy a lot of his this will sound really sadistic. I enjoy a lot of his struggle because of the personality that he's given. I enjoy like all of these moments where he does prove that he's a carnivore, and like how, and again, I did not read further than you guys, so please I don't want to know. But like all of these moments where he's constantly convincing himself like, no, this is love. I'm positive. But in the moments where he's giving into instinct, he doesn't think of her as somebody that he loves. He thinks of her as somebody he wants to eat. Right. I like that we've had multiple moments like that where he's actively had that thought and had to come to terms with it. Even if he immediately after is like, yeah, it's fine. I love her. Just like, oh God, I'm so curious how all of that is going to go. But yeah, their relationship is really interesting to me.
I think my opinion of Legoshi can best be summed up by that fight he had with Bill on stage.
Oh my God, yes.
How like he just kind of comes into the scene and looks totally badass. And he just pummels Bill for what he believes in. You know, he believes that that like Bill drank that animal blood, right? And
he doped up
bothered
on blood.
Yeah, he doped up, and this really bothered Legoshi, and this is Legoshi for the first time really standing up for his convictions, and it kind of sets the tone for who Legoshi is going to be when it really matters. So, like, for example, the fact that he went after Haru to try and save her did not feel out of character for him. You know, it like there is that whole precedent of well, no, he will plunge him, straight into danger and put his life on the line for something that he genuinely believes in.
Mm.
And I feel like in addition to this, like what makes this so impactful is the fact that he's not that character all the time. The vast majority of the time he's just a goofball that's trying to figure out if he's in love or not.
Yeah.
It's a very I guess accessible story. I
Yeah.
think everyone has been at that point where you're just trying to figure things out, and it just goes a step further by like just adding that layer of, well, yes, he is that goofball, but he is that goofball that has fangs that will rip you apart.
Yeah, he's also like a giant gray wolf.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah, I enjoy him as a character a lot, and I like that and I like that there is a lot of depth to that as well. The whole him being willing to jump into danger for something that he believes in. I like that there have been other characters who have called into question, like, yeah, but do you do that because those are the only times that you feel like it's okay to just be a wolf? The way that they incorporate the like carnivore conversation into a lot of moments always winds up being interesting. So yeah, I like that too. This manga looks cute. I mean,
There's a few cute things about it.
yeah. There's some precious slice of lifey moments, and there's some really aggro moments. But
Yeah.
it's a story about animals, so what can you do?
So let's talk about bunny fucking.
Okay.
Bunny fucking or Haru as a character? Do you want to specifically talk about all of the characters we saw bone Haru?
Dealer's choice. I'm fine with any of this. Because, like, we're talking about it being a sweet, cute story.
Sure,
with some
you
aggro
just want to
moments.
bring us back to reality.
Yeah. All right. I like, and very easily, because, there's that whole idiom of, sex like rabbits, like uncontrollable, lusty creatures.
Mm.
And how they could have just simplified it as, oh, well, that's just her instincts, that's just her nature, that's why she's like that.
Right.
But I like that she uses sex as a means of empowerment,
Yeah.
because she feels that she's always a weak creature until she had that one sexual experience, and that she views that's she uses sex to be viewed as an equal.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to that, and the fact that, yeah, she's getting slut shamed for doing what she does. I like that is portrayed in a very negative light, and the fact that she's not backing down from it, that she's not cowering in front of the bullies.
Yeah.
Like, it's they very easily could have presented her as a weak character, but they used all this sex that she has as kind of a means of just physically she's presented as being weak because she is, but like there's a lot of character and strength in her as a person. And we really see that stand out when like the boss line is trying to eat her, and she's standing up for herself.
Oh
Like,
my god. I thought that worked out so well, that whole
Yeah.
scene. Like just getting
Absolutely.
her backstory and how empowered she felt by the way that she lived her life, and being like, sorry, you're trying to raise my heart rate by making me get naked? I'm naked all the time, motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
I thought that was a good follow-up to hearing her backstory. Yeah. Oh, but she's so in love with Louis, and Louis's like, you need to be with a rabbit, but I suppose we can bone sometimes. And I'm like, God damn it, Louis. She
Why are
loves
this
you.
way? Yeah, that did break my heart just a little bit, because I was just like, I love Legoshi, but at the same time, this poor girl. Like,
yeah,
I mean, who do you ship her with?
the moments between her and Louis feel so tender, and they've established
Yeah.
that like they had so much time to talk and be really frank with each other and get to know each other. Like they know each other so well, and literally the only reason that they can't be together is because Louis like, well, the way that this world works is I'm going to be with a red deer and you're going to be with a rabbit. So there's no point in pretending this is going to be anything else. And I'm just like,
no.
but you guys spend so much time together. But at the same time, he was totally willing to be like, well, she's going to die. And there's nothing I can do about that. And Legoshi was the one who was like, no, fuck you, she's not going to die, and went after
But then,
her.
but then conversely, like Louis shows up and shoots the boss
Oh,
line.
he shot that.
fucking
Yeah.
He shot that dude, which was great. But I don't think he would have done that if Legoshi hadn't have been like, you're a punk, and left.
Yeah, true.
So, man.
But I think I ship her more with Louis.
Me
Just
too.
because I feel like Legoshi as a character would be like, I felt something for her. I've learned like, oh, it's like whatever it ends up being. I feel like he would have an easier time of like moving on and being like, oh, like I've experienced this. Like I still like, I love her in a different way. She obviously is more into this other dude, so she can't love me in the same capacity that she feels about him unless she really truly moves on. Otherwise, I always feel like Legoshi, like deep down, would be like, oh, well, I mean, is she only with me because she couldn't get with Louis, but she still like she still feel the same?
Right.
Because it's like she could easily be like, oh, I'm with you because I feel comfortable, and I can't be with Louis because he won't let me be. Otherwise, I would be with him. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, I like that we've also had a lot of moments from her point of view at the beginning of them hanging out, because we saw so much of Legoshi being like, I'm so nervous, like she doesn't realize that I'm the person who almost ate her, like all of this stuff. And then we got a couple of moments in her head where she was just like, literally every time I see his fangs, I want to fucking run. Right? Like she had a long time where she was also terrified of him on an equal measure to how uncomfortable he was with her, which I thought was interesting because she's really good at pretending that she's fine. You know, that's like a character trait that they've really shown off for her a lot.
Now, since we were talking about pairings, what do you guys think about Juno?
Oh my god.
Legoshi?
Fucking Juno.
I don't know. Part of me really loves Juno just because it's like, I don't know. It's like, it's kind of fucked up why she wants to be a like Beastar or whatever. But I'm just like, I don't know. Part of me loves her even if she's like kind of like going against what Legoshi wants. I'm just like, oh, she has like golden ambition.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love it.
I think
I find her endearing, I guess, because she's like, it's like everybody else. She's also like fallen in love, and she's just like trying to find her way and be like, well, like I love this guy, but what, like he's with a rabbit. What the fuck's wrong with him? She's like trying to figure out like, oh, like what how do I go about from this situation? Like, where do I go from here?
Yeah, I think from her conversation with Louis, it could have taken a turn where we saw more of like a sinister aspect of her, being like, where we saw more inner thoughts that were along the lines of, no, I need to be with Legoshi so that we are like the perfect gray wolf pair, you know, sort of a thing. But for the most part, yeah, it's been a lot of her just wanting his attention and just like thinking that he's really cool, you know? And nobody ever thinks that Legoshi's cool. So I agree with you. I think that there are some really endearing things about her, that she's one of the only characters aside from like his dude friends that look at him and think that there's something really special about him. But whether or not that's just because he's like an older gray wolf, I don't know. It's interesting. And her whole scene with Louis was also, I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was pretty great.
Yeah. Her's being like
I
yeah.
won't lie, I kind of shipping that too. Damn it, Louis. Stop
Yeah.
taking all the women.
That's a good pairing.
That
I
is
like
a
that.
good pair.
I like that pairing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I really like Juno as a character. I feel like that scene where she was dancing with Legoshi, like really endeared me to her, because like before that she was kind of just like the cutesy annoying underclassman that really didn't have a lot of depth to her. And then like her personality really started shining through, and she really started connecting with Legoshi in that instance. And then like that gets turned up by the instance where she's practicing with Louis. And it's just, I don't know, like I feel like there's a lot there. Like we haven't been given a lot of time with her, but I feel like there's a lot to explore with that, specifically with how confused she is with the whole situation with Haru. Like I'm wondering how far she's willing to go to get Legoshi, and what that's gonna lead to in terms of conflict between her and Haru.
Yeah, for sure. I didn't expect the story, at least so far, to utilize the framework of the drama club as much as it does. Like, most things that happen in this manga, even if they're not about the drama club, they're happening while something drama club related is going on. Which I for some reason I didn't expect that. I thought it was just going to be like, he's part of the drama club and he's got some friends in the drama club, and that's it. I didn't expect it to be like, no, we're constantly doing stuff for the drama club, and almost all of the characters that I interact with are drama club members. But
I like that. Well, one, like it serves as a good framework for the story, in that, like, it gives the characters all something to do. Like I feel like it has never felt like it has impeded the progression of the story, and the fact that they're a part of the club. But also when you're in high school, a lot of the time those after school activities are what matter to you. Like they contribute more to your identity as a person than attending class, especially since this appears to be a boarding school.
right.
Like you can imagine how much time he's actually dedicating to the club. So it really makes sense.
Yeah. Do you guys want to talk a bit more extensively about art? How did you guys feel about the art style?
I'm a sucker for the style that this whole like manga is in, to be honest. So I really enjoyed it. It's like, I don't know, there's something like really whimsical about the sketchy style, and then when things get more serious, it's like so nicely contrasted when she or the author cleans it up a bit more, and then it's like, oh, this is a bit more neat. So like, I don't know, it just hits you even harder.
Yeah.
I did not like the art as much. Maybe it's because I'm so used to seeing just a regular anime inspired art style that like I have certain expectations when I go into manga. That's not to say that I don't like things with unconventional art styles. Like over time I grew to appreciate it. I just think there are moments in this manga where the art is really good, but the majority of it is just not something I would actively seek out. Like if I was to flip through a volume of this, I wouldn't buy it. Like if I was, without reading it, without having the compulsion of MangaPod to read this manga, if I just saw it in a bookstore, picked it up off a shelf, I wouldn't have given it a second chance.
Yeah.
But like those moments, like for example, any instance where Louis was the Reaper, like that was badass.
Oh my god.
Like, the art was so fucking cool. Like when he looked like the main character from Ancient Magus Pride.
Totally.
And I thought that
Yeah.
was just that was just really awesome looking. Or when like the moment I mentioned earlier with Legoshi coming in into the play to kick some ass. Like there are many instances where the art for this manga looks really cool, but just because of the designs and the art style, it's just not something that I would actively pursue.
Mm.
Oh, one thing I will say in terms of like character designs, Panda Bro always looks so cool.
Totally.
Like if you don't know who Panda Bro is the guy that
Yokorama.
is currently Yokorama.
Yeah, Panda Bro was a cool character to throw in there. I felt like it felt like the art was cleaner or sketchier depending on which character was being drawn. Legoshi was typically drawn in a very sketchy manner because he's so just like bumbling and awkward. But characters like Louis almost always looked really clean, and I think it's because they're supposed to come across more like in control. So overall, specifically the hands, the way that all of the hands were drawn in this manga, I loved. Anytime there was like a weird zoom in on like Legoshi's hands doing something, it was awesome because it was obvious that it was on purpose because some other character was staring at his hands and either feeling uncomfortable or not, you know? I don't know. I loved stuff like that, and I think the really like sketchy aspect to that, sorry if you can hear the vacuum out there. It's not my fault. I can't help it. The like sketchy aspect of the art I thought played in really well for the really frantic like instinctual moments that happened too. So I started off being like, I don't know about this, and then it only took a couple of chapters for me to go, no, I'm in. I like this. I actually like this a lot.
The mayor, that part, like I really liked how they went about it. Because I saw somebody in chat mention it, but I really enjoyed like, I don't know, because when you see the mayor, like, wait, or is that later? I'm like trying not to spoil anything.
How he doesn't have his fangs? Is that what you're gonna mention?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. I thought it was like, because there was something off about him, but I just figured it was like the art. And this is how I tie it in. But yeah, I was originally I was like, oh, something's off about him, but I don't know what. Maybe it's just like she was pressed for time or whatever, the mangaka. Yeah. And so I thought it was really cool how it, like, just for world building's sake, it went into like, oh, this guy's like really trying to change the image of lions by having all this surgery. And like, I don't know, part of me also felt really sad for him because I was just like, I don't know, that's like such a like fucked up thing. Like, oh, you have to get surgery to remove your fangs and get like this really like plasticky face so that you're less scary to the general public.
Yeah.
So that you can do your duties as a mayor. So I thought it was interesting as well how immediately after it goes into the what are they, like the Yakuza lions?
Oh yeah, the
what were they called?
The Shinsengumi or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a little too long to realize that every member of that group was a lion. It literally took until somebody was like, ah, yes, that group, it is made up of 57 lions. And I was like, they're all lions?
Oh,
Did not notice. Did not realize that. But yeah, that was definitely a huge theme in the manga. Like even with characters reading articles, right? And being like, oh yeah, I read an article talking about how, you know, carnivorous animals are received better by everybody if they smile a lot. Like that kind of stuff. It's like, oh. and just sort of highlighting the difficulties for both sides. I thought was
I really liked how they made it. It wasn't like, oh, poor herbivores, like they're the ones that have it the hardest. It was like a nice contrast to see, like, oh no, like carnivores are also like, they have issues of their own that like most people would be like, oh, that's like not too terrible, but in some other regard it really is. It's just as bad.
You know what I really liked that kind of plays off of what you were saying, Moeka. It's when Panda Bro was walking with Legoshi in his office, and he shows Legoshi the carnivores that had killed to feed, you know, or to, you know, kind of like fallen into their instincts and meet that desire to feast on blood and the flesh of a herbivore. Like showing the psychological trauma of taking a life, of what that could do to a person. And I feel like in addition to the stigma that carnivores had, it kind of added another layer to it of, well, you know, they can't just give in to their instincts, because the society, like, these aren't fully animals. Like, they have like, they operate in a very in a society very similar to humans, and like, you would carry that burden of that life you took.
Right.
So I feel like that goes into that whole idea of, no, the carnivores do have it just as difficult. Just the only thing is their problems are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was like another thing that I wasn't quite expecting, because they're carnivores. I was thinking during the cafeteria scene, I thought I read steak, but then I think I went back, and then I was like, oh no, like meat's like totally illegal. They can't have any like substitute for it, really. Or like they can't have meat itself. They have to substitute it for, like, I think it was like egg steak is what they called it, but I mean it was still egg. It wasn't actual meat.
Yeah.
So.
I liked that. I think it was Panda Bro who was telling Legoshi, like, oh, it might interest you to know that everything in the back alley is taken from like hospitals and stuff, right? Like, we don't raise animals to kill them and put them in the back alley. And then that was followed up by Louis' story of, like, no, there are definitely people in the back alley who are setting up some really shady shit with, like, live animals. I liked that because it seemed much more realistic. Like, this idyllic idea of, no, it's fine. All of these animals were already dead. We just took their body parts and we just feed them to people who will pay a price for it. I was like, really? Because that seems too...
not right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's too idyllic. Yeah, I mean, and then it's like when the kids first got into the back alley, I mean, that herbivore or whatever was there. I don't know what animal it was, but I mean, he like, they themselves were there, like, willing to sell their fingers and have them like bite them off right there and then for money, which I was just like, whoa, this dude goes hard. I would not be able to do that.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Timed somebody out for a spoiler. I tried desperately not to read it. I just saw everybody being like, that's a spoiler, and I was like, oh shit, don't look, just time it out. Yeah, is there anything else that you guys would like to mention in regards to this manga? Otherwise we can wrap up and give our final thoughts and ratings, etc.
No, I think I'm good.
No, yeah, I think I'm good too.
Yeah, same.
Oh wait, shout out to Jack. I love Jack. He's like he's just a dog that's like, oh yeah,
his like best friend puppy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I really like how, like, he really cares for Legoshi. It's not like the other guys in the drama club where it's like, oh yeah, we're like quote unquote friends because we're dudes in the drama club, but like
Yeah.
Jack doesn't think of Legoshi as like just like he's just a guy in my drama club. Like he honestly cares for him. So I'm just like,
Totally.
oh, bless him. Bless him.
Yeah, like when he realized that his stag beetle is dead, he was like,
Oh my
no,
God, yeah.
he's gonna be
He was
so
like,
sad. I was like,
I just love
oh.
that his immediate
Or when he
thought
found the
was like,
porn mag.
Oh
Yeah,
my
oh my
God,
God,
I
yeah.
forgot
That was
about
hilarious.
like it was hilarious, but yeah, it was like I don't know, that's when I realized like, oh, this guy like really truly does love Legoshi as a friend, because I
Yeah.
feel I thought about Bill and I was like, oh, if he had found it, he would have like told everybody and been like, oh, look at Legoshi, this fucking bunny fucker.
Right.
Like, let's like
It's true.
kill
It's
him.
totally
like,
true.
what a fucking weirdo. Because you know he's the kind of asshole that would be like, yeah, this is my way of getting rid of him without like causing anything weird for myself.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
he's,
But
I
Bill
bless Jack.
sucks.
He's a bro.
Hashtag Bill sucks. Hashtag Jack
Yeah.
rules. Cool. Yeah. Would either of you guys like to go first with your final thoughts and ratings?
I'll go first.
Do it, Lou.
Okay.
Do it up.
All right, so first off, I want to reiterate that I did not expect what I got, and it was a very pleasant surprise. This story gave me a bunch of interesting characters and interesting relationships amongst the main cast. The problems that I have with the story are in terms of like the story specifically is that apart from a couple mentions, the whole thing with Tem hasn't really been addressed. So that's one. And two, while like the little side stories are nice, I feel like there are so many characters that may have their quirks, like that ostrich that really ships Juno and Legoshi, but you know, apart from having their little quirks, they don't hold as much importance. And I feel like in a way they kind of detract from the story in that they take up time that could be dedicated to really fleshing out the story, because there's a lot there that to be explored. So from a storytelling perspective, I think this is a great manga in terms of like the character writing is all excellent when it's focused on the main cast. The art, as I mentioned before, I wasn't too keen on. There are certain panels that look really, really good. The sex scenes, or what leads to potential sex scenes, have always, or at least in this, they look kind of awkward just because of this disparity in sizes. And I don't know how I feel about it, because all the characters are of the same age, but specifically when we see sex scenes, a lot of it has to deal with Haru, who is significantly tinier than everyone else by multiple feet in height. It's so it just like, I don't know if her body type changes from panel to panel in those scenes, which is why I kind of perceive it as awkward. I don't know. But the art itself, like, it's mostly missed for me, but it has some shining moments. So I feel like the story really carries it, and the backstories really carry this manga to an 8 out of 10 for me. And I would love to continue reading more. In fact, this is one of the few instances where after that hard stop point of, okay, which we actually extended the stopping point. Originally it was going to be chapter 40. We pushed it to 42 because we were told it was a better stopping point. That I kept reading. That almost never happens. So I feel like an 8 out of 10 is 8 out of 10 with if this was drawn a little differently, it would probably be a 9. Like that little I guess flavor text.
Yeah.
Lou, would you say that maybe it's a little bit weird because it's like animals and it's not something, I mean, that's not something you often see like manga wise, that it's all animals that have like some semi-human feature. Like, do you think maybe that's why you were into the style too, just because it's not something you're used to?
I think that plays heavily into why I wasn't really into it. But on the other side, or to like kind of build off of that, is the art style did grow on me over time. It just took several chapters for that to happen. And I'm still not fully sold on it. I feel like maybe if the mangaka would have found a way to dial down the cartoony aspects of the character designs, and maybe go a little more realistic, that I wouldn't be in this position where like I like immediately the first thing I saw when I saw the characters, first thing that came to mind was Tiny Toon Adventure. And I don't want to think about Tiny Toon Adventure when I'm reading about like animals questioning the the ethics of consuming other people in their society. From my manga experience, like I don't mind a dichotomy. I don't mind a contrast between two different things. That's fine. It's just a little unsettling. And I guess maybe it's supposed to be unsettling, but yeah, 8 out of 10. I don't know. I want to read more. I definitely want to read more. Moeka, how many chapters are out since you're like current?
There's like
on
80, right?
No, I think or that have been translated by like a fan group, not officially. I think it's like 68.
Okay.
Which is quite a bit. But yeah, to kind of go off of what you were saying, Lou, I was really off put by the style at first too, because like I said, you don't often get to see like a full manga with like animals or like animal features. At least it's always like, oh yeah, there's like one guy that sees himself like as a weird like bird-like or like animal wise they see themselves as some weird figure, but there's like always like a human in the background, so you're like, oh, it's like, oh, I see, he sees himself different or whatever. But in this one it's all animals, so it was really off-putting for me as well, and it did take me a lot of chapters to get used to it, but I kind of got over it just because I fell in love with how all the characters were and how they were like fleshed out. So for me, like, I'm really character driven, and I really like the slice of life aspects of this manga, which usually doesn't happen often in like manga or anime for me. I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, please move on to something, which is another thing I liked about this manga, and I was surprised with. It was like, there was a lot of world building and like all the little side story things with like the ostrich. Like, for me at least, I took that as like, oh, like, yeah, the herbivores are like pretty scared of the carnivores, but to like see this herbivore or like bird creature or whatever be like, oh, I love these two carnivores together. Like, I don't know, for me it was just like, oh, that's like so sweet.
Yeah.
So I like, for me it was like a lot of world building in those little tidbits. So for me, I really enjoyed that. So I'm gonna have to give it a 9 out of 10, just because I love characters and I love world building a lot. So yeah. Otherwise, I think I would have given it just like an 8 out of 10, like you said.
Yeah, I was planning on giving it a 9 because the art style really only took a couple of chapters before I was pretty in on it. Especially reading up to this point, I really love it. And yeah, the character, like, I feel like there's a lot of weird tropey shit that could have happened in this manga that didn't wind up happening. It's just like a lot of really interesting character exploration that I thought was really effective and really well done. I'm the same as you. I love that they took a lot of time to like build up the world. It didn't feel like it could have very easily fallen into one of those manga where they, because they're in a classroom experience, they take the time to be like, today we are going to talk about animal society, right? And we have to sit through an entire chapter where there's a teacher telling us everything about the way that this society works. They never did that. They just kind of like showed how it works through like these really these really believable conversations between characters, whether it was groups of carnivores or groups of herbivores or a combination. And I thought it worked so well. And oh, oops, that's an alert. My bad. Sorry, guys. Enjoy that. Cool, it's done. Just overall, I really loved this, and I didn't necessarily think I was going to, so I'm pleasantly surprised, and I really, really want to read more. So, yeah, it sounds like we all really dug it. An 8 and 2 9s, that is not bad at all. So definitely check out Beastars if this has sounded like something that you would be interested in. And again, this will be on youtube.com/happilyerin if you are just showing up now and you're like, oh man, I love Beastars. I would have loved to hear everything they had to say. You can always go check it out later. In the meantime, we are going to be reading another manga next week. So let me read the summary for you for that manga. I'm going to omit some words, so it's going to be a game. You're going to have to guess what you think it is. In 16th century Japan, Blank is a wild, rough young man in both his appearance and his actions. His aggressive nature has won him the collective reproach and fear of his village, leading him and his best friend, Blank, to run away in search of something grander than a provincial life. The pair enlist in the Blank army, yearning for glory, but when the Blank suffer a crushing defeat at the hands of the Blank, the friends barely make it out alive. After the two are separated, Blank returns home on a self-appointed mission to notify the Blank family of Blank's survival. I feel like this summary isn't doing us any favors. It's about a Blank who's a really good Blank, and he one day wants to be a Blank. Do you know what it is? We've read it before. That's the clue that I'll give you. Yo, Xanafan got it.
Oh,
Bam!
Yeah.
We are reading Vagabond. We'll be reading Vagabond chapters 50 through 97, volumes 6 through 10. Holden is going to be our guest on that one, so if you would like to tune into that, hopefully Erin will be all rested up and feeling better by that point, and she will be joining us again as well. So that will be next Tuesday at 7:30. What else? Hey, we've got a subreddit. If you're like, I would love to know all of the stuff that you guys are going to be reading, we have a subreddit, r/MangaPod. The very top one that is pinned is the list of everything that we're reading up through June, Lou? Is that right?
Yeah.
So if you would like to check that out and get some reading in ahead of time, feel free. And then you can join us for MangaPods in the future, having done the reading. So you can be part of the book club. It would be very exciting. But in the meantime, that's our show. So we're going to shout out our stuff and let y'all get on with your evenings. I'm Dodger. You can find me at DexBonus on pretty much everything. I also have a coffee company at DodgerCoffeeCo.com. Definitely also check out Erin. You can find her at Happily Erin on everything and send her some love from all of us because she just got out of surgery and is resting up. And I'm sure she would love some Lance gifts and some sweet words. So.
Yeah, tweet Erin lots of stuff. My name is Lou from Lou Talks Anime. And you can find me at youtube.com/LouTalksAnime now and Twitter at LouTalksAnime. And it just occurred to me that I forgot to mention that every time I see the title of the manga that we just talked about, I read it as Be a Stars.
Be a Star.
Dramatically uncomfortable to say, but, whatever.
Somebody
that's
said
just
that they
thing.
kept reading it as Beastars, which I think is also funny.
That's way better. That's way better. I like that one.
Anyway, keep going. Sorry.
And yeah, that's my stuff. Lou Talks Anime. Let's talk about anime bullshit or whatever. I'll be complaining about work and students and things. It'll be fun times.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm MegaMoeka, which you can find me on pretty much like Twitch, YouTube, whatever. At MegaMoeka. So yeah.
Yeah. So check out all of these lovely people. They're wonderful. And that's it for our show. Thank you so much for watching MangaPod. You can find all of the previous MangaPods on youtube.com/happilyerin, aside from the couple that I still haven't given Erin because I'm the worst. So So I'll be doing
All
that right
she'll
after
love
this
us
show.
all, regardless.
But yeah, you can find all of those. Again, Vagabond, which we are reading next week, we have already done once, I believe, only once.
Yeah, only once.
So if you would like to hear what we thought about the beginning part of Vagabond, you can go and check that out on her channel right now. Hopefully we will see you next Tuesday. And otherwise, take care of yourselves, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye. 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 Bye.
There we go.
Hey.